Today we travel back in time to a semi-fantasy world where politics indeed cause the worst of wars in Ogre Battle 64, person of lordly caliber. Ogre Battle 64 is a real-time strategy RPG developed by Quest and published by Atlas for the Nintendo 64 in October 7th, 2000. It's the sequel to Ogre Battle, The March of the Black Queen, with a similar concept, but has significant changes to put above its predecessor. This is a game that was suggested to me by Dr. Blake. So with that said, let's dive into this game and find out why it was suggested to me in the first place. The story of Ogre Battle 64 follows Magnus Gallant, unless you named them different, as a recent graduate of the Ishka Military Academy who is assigned to the Southern Division of the Palatinian Army, where he witnesses the plight of the lower class, oppressed by the Empire and treated as expendable livestock. This game's story is really well done, and it's a long journey you'll take with a cast of unique characters, each with their own trials and tribulations, strengths and weaknesses, and their own part to play as the story unfolds. The game will run you about 45 to 47 hours on average, with some gamers claiming 70 plus hours on their gameplay time, which is just enough time for your typical old school RPG to keep you invested in its story, characters, secrets, and loot. And for the strategy game like this, I'd say it's worth it. The graphics for Ogre Battle 64 are dated, but still very charming to the eyes. If you're someone who grew up in the 90s, you'll probably reminisce of other fun games that held this art style, such as Chocobo's Dungeon 2, which had both 3D-ish style sprites as well as pre-rendered backgrounds that are still admired by fans to this day. Actually, now that I think about it, Chocobo's Dungeon 2 is another game that's not very well known, so I might have to cover that in the future, but for now, let's get back to Ogre Battle. The characters, enemies, and bosses are really well designed, and have this sort of SD look to them that I've always admired growing up. While the designs of these characters and monsters are all well and good, unfortunately the landscapes during your missions look pretty bland and uninspired. But the game makes up for it for using pre-rendered backgrounds during actual battle and during story cutscenes. I'm a big fan of these graphics, and I honestly wouldn't mind it if newer games went back to the style of art for some of their games. The music for Ogre Battle 64 is beautifully composed by Hitoshi Sakimoto, Masaharu Iwata, and Hayato Matsuo. The game has music that has the power to invoke emotions within you. Some of the music calms you, some of it moves you, and some of it makes you determined to fight the good fight. There are some that really also give you an idea of how grave the situation truly is. The music is superb, and I'd recommend anybody who's a fan of video game soundtracks to give this one a listen, for you shall not be disappointed. Ogre Battle 64 is a real-time strategy RPG, where you'll be commanding up to 50 troops and section off units. Each unit consists of a leader and a few soldiers or monsters, with a party of up to 5 members. When one of your units meets another, a skirmish ensues, and the game switches to an isometric view of pre-rendered battlefield. In this stage, both units will attack each other in semi-real time, consisting of regular attacks, critical attacks, and parries. The combat in the game confuses me at times, because after a while of your units fighting, they stop and a winner is determined, instead of an entire battle playing out until one unit is dead. Whoever loses gets pushed back and is usually in danger of losing their path towards their intended location you set them to, which can be detrimental to your mission if it's to protect the settlement and your enemy now has a head start to get there before you do. One of my big issues with this game is how long it takes for battles to go on. Once you play the game, you'll notice units move at a snail's pace across the battlefield, and while you have an option to increase the speed, it doesn't actually do enough to be noticeable, at least in my eyes. It's something that can be taxing to a player, and I wouldn't blame you if you took this game chapter by chapter instead of trying to play as much as you can, because after a while, the gameplay will get repetitive. But the battles are neat to watch, and the story is so well written that I can slog through some of these repetitive snail races to get to the good stuff. The game boasts a class system in it as well, which is quite common in a tactical RPG, but not as strange as Ogre Battles, which divides their classes into 3 major groups of male, female, and non-human. It doesn't bother me much that the classes are gendered, but I'm sort of glad that future games don't really follow this way when it comes to a new class system. A big plus I can give in this game is that, with some tactical thinking and formation, you can create situations where team attacks occur. One example I was presented with was setting up 2 wizards in the back row that would combine their spells together for some crazy results. 4 things have to be in effect for the chance for these combos to occur, which are battle strategy, enemy formation, unity, and compatible classes and elements. So it looks like you're rewarded handsomely for efficient party setup here. Another thing I love with this game is the ability to tame monsters with a beast tamer. Now you have an arsenal of soldiers as well as beasts to help you fell your opponents. With enough hard work and determination, you can eventually become a beast master and tame some incredibly majestic beasts such as worms, cockatrices, and Cerberus. I've always enjoyed games where they let you control or play as some of the monsters you're set out to fight, because in the end most of these monsters aren't truly evil, but simply akin to wild animals. Ogre Battle 64's gameplay is a bit slow, but it's also tactical, fun, and immerses me in this world full of war. Ogre Battle 64 is a fantastic strategy game that makes you think, make careful decisions, and immerses you in its political story. Really glad I was recommended this game by Dr. Blank, and if you have any suggestions for a game that nobody knows about or didn't get the love it truly deserved, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this episode of UnderRadar, and I'll catch you on the next one.